What's up, YouTube? The final game for this month is House of Ashes. This game is another part of the first season of Bandai Namco's Dark Pictures Anthology, a collection of movie-like games where most things play out as a matter of QTEs and choices, both meaningful and meaningless. And the game's intro really hypes up that one of the actors cast is Ashley Tisdale. So let's get into this and see how it all plays out. Like before for The Devil in Me, I played through this game first with my wife, and the footage here is for the Platinum Trophy. So for our first playthrough, our main thing to do is to make sure that we only make decisions with our brain rather than our heart. We start in the prologue and make sure to use the spear to end the barbarian girl's life. This will be important for later. No, I'm not kidding. And what's cool here is that whoever dies last in the prologue will become the main enemy for the rest of the campaign. Then we can get into the real meat of the game, meeting our cast, getting to know them a bit. Our backdrop is 2003, during the 2003 invasion of Iraq. Our characters are nearly a full sausage fest, with our players Rachel King, aka Ashley Tisdale, aka Queen Bitch as the game calls her, her ex-husband Eric King, Nick K, Queen Bitch's lover, First Lieutenant Jason Kolchak, and an Iraqi Royal Guard soldier Salim. Honestly, out of all of them, the only one who seems likable in any way is Salim. Everyone else is too military? I know that's kind of the point, but still. We also get some supporting cast in Merwin, Clarice, and Dar. After introductions, we get the lowdown. A new heavy-duty satellite has detected underground caverns with a special signature showing that odds are high that there's a chemical weapons silo. We move out for the mission and see the atrocities that the USA is willing to commit, including possessing and potentially using white phosphorus. Although I also really despise the Geneva Convention, and really like when you have games that let you violate said convention. We do make sure to call in air support too. Why? Because
It's a surprise tool that can help us later.
So we storm the area, see the suspiciously well-armed shepherds, and discover that there probably isn't any weapons silo, just a bunch of people dealing heroin. Oh, how times change. But then the Iraqi Republican Guard shows up, and it comes time for a tense shootout filled with aiming QTEs and button QTEs. Then there's an earthquake, and the whole crew gets swallowed by the earth and separated. So first we play as Nick, and see some of the tunnels and buried ruins, and get a first real glimpse at one of the main enemies. We find our buddy Jason, and then find Clarice and a heavily injured Merwin. Clarice gets yanked away into the darkness, and we have to struggle to keep Merwin alive, but also not give away our position to the enemy. This means that one of the QTEs must be failed, otherwise we will choke Merwin to death. We then swap to playing as Salim. He's alone, but not for long, as we get chased down a hallway by, you guessed it, a vampire. Salim gets saved by the grace of Allah. However, as a divine isekai truck comes down from the surface to knock the vampire into the next world. Then we get to see the kings united with all of their drama. Eric has a prosthetic leg apparently, thanks to an accident that Rachel caused. We climb down into the ruins and switch to playing as Rachel, where we find the remains of an archaeological team from several decades ago, along with some fun set pieces like a giant machine gun and the ever-important ancient but still functional generator. We fix the generator and get some lights, along with some backstory that the archaeologist ran into trouble with the monsters. We cut back to Nick, Jason, and Merwin, shooting at some creatures while running away, and have to make the hard call to ditch deadweight Merwin. Merwin is kinda like Richard in Resident Evil 1, where no matter what, he dies anyway. You can just delay the inevitable. Cutting back to the Kings, we see that dickhead Dar is trying to gun them down. As we're sneaking away, Rachel, of course, has to cock it up somehow and falls down the cliff. Eric has to make a hard choice: cut the rope or fall down with her into the abyss. Seeing as how we just had seen the premonition that if we don't cut the rope, Eric dies, we make the head decision to cut the rope. It's fine, though. Rachel is still alive, as evidenced by the 5 still lit candles in the curator's room. Nick and Jason show up, and it's time to keep moving. We also seem to have heard Joey, a soldier that died above ground, which there's no way in hell he's alive. Cutting back to Salim, whose only exit is through the isekai truck. As we try to make our way through, the monster comes alive. It should be very clear by now that the monsters are vampires. Salim learns that the sunlight burns them, and Salim even manages to use a steel stake from the truck to stake the vamp. As Nick and Jason search for Joey, we make sure to pick up a medkit because
It's a surprise tool that can help us later.
shit hits the fan again as the dickhead Dar starts shooting at us again, and Nick gets separated due to a cave-in. Nick is able to join up with Salim, who explains about the vampires and how to kill it. So we work together and kill the vampire. But then Nick has to be a dick and rat out Salim to Jason, who causes a standoff and Jason gets injured, after the absolute best line in the game.
I didn't come this far to die by a trigger-happy American!
Nick and Jason work their way back to the main hall with the vamp in tow. Eric is trying to perform an autopsy on it to see if there's any weaknesses to exploit, while Nick and Jason rig up some explosives. Remember where you place them! We also get some more backstory for Nick and Jason, where they fucked up and went against the Geneva Convention and killed a civilian. Suddenly, I like these guys more. Eric then discovers that the UV lamp can set the vampires ablaze. We also pick up a smaller stake. Finally, we can check in on Rachel, who's down in a burning river of blood, something that looks straight out of Dante's Inferno. We trudge our way through, after 2 restarts because this area likes to glitch up and lock you in place because of certain cues that happen, and find Clarice, who helps us escape from a vampire. Clarice doesn't look so hot, though, so when it comes time to help her after climbing, We just don't. Back topside, we see that Joey has turned into a scampire, stake him, and then burn him with the UV lamp. Nick and Jason set to trying to fix the radio, but since it's busted, the sound it makes just pisses the vamps off way more. And of course, Dickhead Dar has to show up and ruin things more. After a pretty tense shootout, we get away and try to hole up in the hall. Right after this, we get the reveal that Eric learns that Nick has been screwing his wife. They can't get into it now, though, as the vampires are coming in force. So the Americans all have to work together to make sure we can all get out. We end up hightailing it deeper into the tomb after doing what we can to survive. Make sure to remember where the explosives were placed. Then the gang gets all together, and after a very tense standoff, arrive at the conclusion that there's bigger fish to fry. Then we get into another high-tension action sequence completely riddled with QTEs. If we do this right, then only Dickhead Dar will die, but Rachel will be infected. As the group gets separated, Salim and Jason are left alone. They start to earn respect and compassion for each other as they work together to get through and survive, with Salim staking some more vampires. Jason is also smart enough to leave some breadcrumbs for the rest of the gang. As Salim and Jason continue ever deeper, they make the decision to descend deeper into the ominously glowing cavern. We then cut to a flashback, back when the kings were happy, and see a clear reason for why women should have to pass a stricter driving class.
Then at least let me drive!
Oh, Ash, you know it's illegal for women to drive. A woman driving.
How much signal I need to cut across 8 lane? None? I turn now. Good luck, everybody else!
We then get a scene of Rachel, Eric, and Nick having to hide from the Ancient One. After we get to safety and see the breadcrumbs, Rachel has enough and says she wants nothing to do with either Nick or Eric. This was important for a later trophy. Back with Salim and Jason, we explore and get a bit of an inkling that the vampires are not only ancient, like thousands of years old ancient, but they're also probably aliens. Yeah, I did not have alien vampires on my bingo card. We make our way through, find this weirdo instrument, and find an ancient human body preserved in the juice from the cocoons that not only kept the guy alive, but also prevented the body from dying. After making our way through a maze of cocoons and getting attacked by a freshly unstasized vampire, the cavalry arrives with Nick saving our butts. We then find a sorta meditation chamber and find out a bit more of the past from the aliens. They used sound to communicate, like music, and because Rachel is infected, we get to see exactly how they came to Earth. And then Rachel starts to turn. Since this is an all-head playthrough, we can't save Rachel. Jason has to put her down. Now it's just a straight-up sausage fest. As we proceed deeper, Nick volunteers to use the remaining explosives to blow up some of the cocoon towers. We manage to avoid the scampering vamps and place explosives on 2 towers and then have Nick get the hell out of Dodge. As we're escaping, Salim gets separated from the group and, following our head, we leave him to die. Salim fights bravely, netting us a trophy in the process, but goes down because we left him behind. As the trio escapes, Clarice shows up and ends up eating Nick. So we're down to Jason and Eric during the endgame, a high-octane action sequence during a spontaneous solar eclipse. We make sure that Eric dies here by failing some QTEs, making Jason the only survivor. The ending shows the extreme debriefing, and even though a chemical weapons silo wasn't found, alien vampires are a much sweeter prize for the American government. We also get the final girl trophy here, and after the credits get a triple whammy of trophies. Now we can do a bit of cleanup. First, we go back to the meditation chamber so that we can cure Rachel's infection. We have Eric use the UV lamp and have Rachel vomit out the space worm, like from that episode of Rick and Morty.
God, is there gonna be an intermission?
Excuse me, but I ordered the large evil space worm.
I know, it's like, is that a demon slug in your stomach, or are you just happy to...
After we stomp it, the parasite is the final collectible we needed. Now, this time, I was aiming to keep everyone alive, but when Jason went back for Salim, I messed up and the Ancient One speared Jason, which got me another trophy, but this was an accident. I had to redo this scene. Redoing it to rescue Salim gets the trophy I wanted. And we proceed to throw Clarice down into the abyss, and get to the eclipse scene again, making sure to nail the QTEs so that everyone lives. Then it's back to the eclipse scene again to make sure everyone dies at the very end, obviously for a trophy. Up next is going back to our hall standoff to have Nick give erroneous directions, leading to a double death combo on the Kings. Now it's time to go back to shortly after entering to make sure Merwin survives. We need him to fix the radio later on, where Dar will promptly murder Merwin, just delaying the inevitable. This time we're also going to use the gun in the room to make a stand. And this is where I was supposed to have let Rachel die by the spear, which I did to follow the guide I was using. We're also aiming for 3 different characters to get kills with the UV lamp, which we do towards the end in the cocoons again. Then we send Jason along with Salim so that Nick can have a moment with Eric for a trophy. And as they escape, Rachel tries to eat Eric, and when she gets cut loose, we get another trophy. Now we redo the cocoon section, this time going for the mother load so that we can have Nick slay the Ancient One. Now we gotta start over to do things differently. We need to make sure most people hate Eric, particularly Nick. We also don't call in air support so that Salim can leave at the end. We bring Clarice with us for the express intent of having her eat Eric for a trophy, making sure to keep her alive until she turns. We continue as normal up until the meditation room, where, because Eric is gonzo, we can dunk Ashley Tisdale into a goopy cocoon. We get to the cocoons to complete it without getting injured for a trophy. After the eclipse, Salim can go off into the sunset because backup wouldn't arrive for several hours. Then we replay the scene to leave her behind by having the remaining guys keel over in the finale. The final thing for cleanup here is to continue as normal and have Nick overextend at the end, and due to the bad relationship with Eric, Eric will ignore the signal, leaving Nick for dead. Last but not least, it's a trip through the prologue in movie night mode. With that, the House of Ashes is platinumed. It has less collectibles than the other DPA games, and the story was definitely weird. It's an interesting point in time in real-world history, and isn't so modern. The earth swallowing is a bit cliche, but vampire aliens definitely makes up for it. And hey, it's so weird seeing Ashley Tisdale in something that isn't on Disney Channel. The Platinum is a 1 out of 10, as it's basically a participation and working to see some specific scenes, and the collectibles are mostly easy to get. As for the patented Dan the Ranking Man, the game is an 88 out of 100. I had some glitches that forced me to restart, and the story isn't as interesting as in The Devil in Me, but it's still a good time. And with that, this month is mission complete. And the videos should be done in time for Halloween and Day of the Dead, which is perfect for spooky season. So, until next time, like and subscribe, comment down below who was the first to die during your playthrough, and remember, only losers would still game on Xbox with their increased prices nowadays. Yeah, you guys weren't expecting that, were you? PS Plus for the win, baby!